the distress. Call, the stellar harmony drifted silently through the void, its crystalline hull reflecting the distant starlight. Inside, Captain Narissa of the Luminari watched with mounting concern as her engineers fought to contain the cascade. Failure in the ship's primary drive core. The Luminari were a peaceful race, evolved from herbivores on a gentle world with minimal predators and stable seasons. Their slender bodies, standing at just over 5 feet tall, were adorned with bioluminescent patterns that shifted with their emotions, currently flashing in rapid patterns of distress. "Drive containment at 28%, Captain," reported. First Officer Thelian, his own luminescence pulsing rapidly. "We cannot restore functionality without a stabilizing field." Narissa nodded, her large, almond-shaped eyes blinking slowly as she considered their options. The scientific vessel had been mapping an uncharted nebula when they'd encountered an unexpected gravity anomaly. Now they were drifting, their systems failing one by one. "How long until complete failure?" she asked. 4 hours at current degradation. "Rates," replied Thelian. "Life support will begin to fail 2 hours after that." Narissa touched the communication panel. "Transmit a distress signal. Maximum range." The communications officer, Lyrian, turned with concern. "Captain, we're far, beyond the borders of Luminari space. The nearest outpost is 3 days away at standard speed." "I know," Narissa replied softly, "but we must try." Lyrian worked quickly, preparing the automated distress beacon. In her haste, she missed a critical setting in the targeting array. Instead of directing the signal toward known Luminari territories, the powerful burst of data shot into a region of space marked as restricted in their star charts, a sector containing a G-type star with a single habitable planet that Luminari explorers had classified centuries ago as a Class 12 death world. The signal raced through the void at superluminal speeds, carrying its simple message: Luminari science vessel, stellar harmony, experiencing catastrophic drive failure. Life support compromised. 26 crew members aboard. Any assistance appreciated. 3 light-years away, on the outer patrol route of humanity's defense perimeter, the UES Valiant received the unexpected transmission. Captain Maya Reyes stood on the bridge of the Valiant, reading through the day's reports, when Lieutenant Park, at communications, straightened suddenly. "Captain, we're receiving an unknown signal. It appears to be a distress call, but it doesn't match any known human frequencies or encryption." Reyes raised an eyebrow. The Valiant was a Defender-class heavy cruiser, the flagship of Battle Group Sierra, tasked with patrolling the outer reaches of human space. First contact with an alien civilization wasn't on her agenda for the day. "Can we translate it?" she asked. Lieutenant Park worked his console. "The ship's AI is processing it now. The signal contains mathematical sequences that seem to function as a translation key." Admiral Chen, who had been quietly observing from the side of the bridge, moved to stand beside Reyes. At 63, Chen was one of humanity's most experienced space commanders, a veteran of the Mars conflict and the Jupiter colonial crisis. "Interesting," he murmured. "Whoever sent this knew their signal might be intercepted by unknown species." The bridge speakers crackled to life as the AI completed its analysis, and a synthesized version of the distress call played. Reyes and Chen exchanged glances. Humanity had been exploring space for nearly a century, establishing colonies throughout their solar system and several nearby stars, but they had never encountered another intelligent species. The possibilities and potential dangers were enormous. "Location?" Reyes asked. "Based on signal origin and degradation, approximately 3.2 light-years from our current position, sir," replied the navigation officer. "In the Deneb sector." Chen studied the tactical display. "That's at the very edge of our sensor range. No human settlements out there." Reyes nodded slowly. "Recommendations, Admiral?" Chen considered for a moment. "Humanity has long wondered if—" "We're alone in the universe, Captain. Now we have our answer." and their first message to us is a call for help. A slight smile crossed his weathered face. I think we should answer it. Within minutes, Battle Group Sierra, consisting of the Valiant, 2 Sentinel-class destroyers, and a Mercy-class medical frigate, changed course, accelerating toward the source of the distress signal. In the Valiant's briefing room, Reyes addressed the gathered officers. The room fell silent as they processed what they'd just heard. "So we're making first contact with an alien species?" asked Commander Rodriguez, the Valiant's executive officer. "Are we prepared for that?" "We've had protocols for this scenario for decades," Chen replied. "But I'll be honest, they're mostly theoretical. The reality is, we're entering unknown territory here." Dr. Eliza Wang, the senior xenobiologist, leaned forward. "The signal mentioned life support compromised. That suggests they breathe something, at least. Hopefully something similar to our own atmosphere." "And if they don't?" asked Rodriguez. Wang shrugged. "We have environmental suits. We'll adapt." Captain Reyes turned to Major Sarah Hassan, commander of the ship's Marine detachment. "Major, prepare your teams for potential boarding and rescue operations. Non-threatening posture, but be ready for anything." Hassan nodded. "Yes, Captain. I'll have my people run drills for zero-G rescue scenarios." "One more thing," Admiral Chen added, his voice grave. "We don't know why their ship is failing. There could be hostile forces involved. While our primary mission is rescue, be prepared for the possibility that we might be entering a combat situation." As the officers filed out to prepare their departments, Reyes remained behind with Chen. "This could change everything, sir," she said quietly. Chen nodded. "Humanity has been confined to our little corner of the galaxy, arguing over resources and ideology. Perhaps this is what we need, a reminder that there's something bigger out there." On the Stellar Harmony, Captain Narissa watched as her crew worked frantically to slow the drive core's deterioration. The luminescent patterns on her skin had dimmed to a soft blue, a sign of resigned acceptance among her people. "Any response to our distress call?" she asked, though she held little hope. Lyrian shook her head. "Nothing, Captain. I've continued broadcasting on all channels, but we're too far from established routes." Suddenly, the sensor array chimed with an unexpected alert. Thelian moved quickly to the console, his patterns flaring with surprise. "Captain, we're detecting multiple objects approaching our position at high velocity." "Friendly?" Narissa asked, her patterns brightening with hope. Thelian studied the readings. "Unknown. The configuration doesn't match any species in our database. 4 vessels, varying sizes." Before Narissa could respond, another alert sounded. This one more urgent. "New contacts!" Thelian called out, his patterns flashing with alarm. 3 vessels approaching from the coreward direction. These match known configurations. Darax raiders. Narissa's patterns pulsed with fear. The Darax were a predatory species known throughout this sector for attacking vulnerable ships, stealing technology, and taking captives for labor. With their ship disabled, they were perfect prey. "Time until the Darax arrive?" she asked. "Approximately 1 hour," Thelian responded grimly. "And the unknown vessels?" Thelian checked his readings. "At their current velocity, 90 minutes. Narissa's hopes faded. Whoever the unknown ships belonged to, they would arrive too late. On the bridge of the Valiant, Lieutenant Park reported, "Captain, we're detecting additional ships converging on the distress signal location. Based on their engine signatures and approach vectors, they appear to be on an intercept course with the disabled vessel." "Hostile?" Reyes asked. "Unknown. But they're not responding to standard hails, and their formation suggests offensive intent." Reyes turned to Admiral Chen. "Sir, if those are hostile forces, they'll reach the distressed ship before we do." Chen didn't hesitate. "Push the engines to emergency thrust. Contact the engine room. I want every bit of speed they can give us." Throughout Battle Group Sierra, reactor technicians and engineers responded to the emergency order. pushing their fusion drives beyond recommended safety margins. The stars outside seemed to stretch as the human vessels accelerated to dangerous velocities. Major Hassan stood in the Valiant's armory, watching as her Marines prepared their gear. The men and women under her command were the best Earth had to offer, trained in everything from zero-G combat to hostage rescue. "Listen up," she called, and the busy room fell silent. "We're responding to an alien distress call. We don't know what these beings look like or what condition they'll be in. We also don't know if the hostiles approaching them have already boarded." She paced in front of her squad. "This is why we train. Full combat exoskeletons, standard weapon loadouts, and remember your first contact protocols. We might be rescuing beings who've never seen a human before." Sergeant Diaz raised his hand. "Environmental concerns, Major?" "Good question," Hassan nodded. "Suit up with full environmental seals. The xenobiology team has analyzed the limited data we have on the distress signal. The ship appears to maintain an atmosphere with oxygen content similar to Earth's, but slightly higher in nitrogen. Plan for potential injured civilians who may not tolerate our atmosphere." As the Marines continued their preparations, Hassan checked her own gear. Unlike most spacefaring species, humans had evolved on a high-gravity world filled with predators and environmental hazards. Their bodies were built for endurance and strength, adaptations that made them surprisingly formidable by galactic standards. Back on the bridge, Captain Reyes received an update from engineering. "We've shaved 20 minutes off our arrival time, Captain," reported the chief engineer. "But I can't guarantee the drive integrity if we maintain this speed for the entire journey." Reyes glanced at Chen, who nodded. "Push it, Chief. We need to get there before those other ships do." As Battle Group Sierra raced toward the Stellar Harmony, the crew prepared for humanity's first contact with an alien species, a meeting that would begin not with formal diplomatic exchanges, but with a desperate rescue mission against unknown aggressors. First contact. The Darax raiding vessels approached the drifting Stellar Harmony like predators stalking wounded prey. Their ships, angular and dark, designed for intimidation as much as function, moved into position around the disabled Luminari vessel. On the bridge of the lead raider, Captain Krez watched with satisfaction. His scaled skin shifted from gray to a pleased orange as he assessed their find, Luminari science vessel, he noted to his second-in-command. "Excellent. Their sensor technology will fetch a high price, and the crew will serve well in the processing. Facilities." "They've sent a distress signal," reported his communications officer. Krez made a dismissive gesture with his clawed hand. "Irrelevant. We're outside Luminari space. No one will respond in time." He leaned forward. "Prepare boarding parties, disable their communications first, then secure the bridge." As the Darax prepared to board, the Stellar Harmony's sensors detected a new development. "Captain," Thelian called out, his luminescence pulsing rapidly. "The unknown vessels have significantly increased their velocity. New estimated arrival time, 12 minutes. Nerissa's patterns brightened slightly. "Before the Darax complete boarding?" "Possibly," Thelian replied. "But we can't be certain who these newcomers are. They could be just as dangerous." A shuddering impact rocked the ship as the first Darax boarding craft attached to their hull. Nerissa made her decision. Seal all internal bulkheads, security teams to critical areas. She knew their minimal security personnel, armed only with non-lethal stun devices, would be little match for Darax raiders. But they had to try. "And keep broadcasting to the approaching vessels. Whoever they are, they're our only hope." First explosion signaled the Darax cutting through the outer hull. Emergency alarms blared throughout the ship as the raiders began their assault. Battle Group Sierra dropped out of FTL in a flash of distorted space, sensors immediately scanning the situation. "Visual confirmation," reported the tactical officer. "One crystalline vessel appears damaged. 3 hostile ships surrounding it, boarding in progress." "Full tactical display," ordered Reyes. and the main view screen shifted to show the scene. The disabled alien ship was unlike anything humans had designed. Its hull seemed to be made of some crystalline substance that reflected the starlight in iridescent patterns. The three attacker vessels were dark and angular, clearly built for combat. "Life signs?" Admiral Chen asked. "Multiple readings from all ships. At least 2 distinct species based on biosignatures." Chen didn't waste time. "Tactical. Target the hostile vessel's engines and weapon systems. Communications. Broadcast. On all frequencies, our first contact package, followed by a demand for the attackers to stand down." As the Valiant moved into position, it broadcast humanity's carefully prepared first contact message, a series of mathematical sequences establishing basic communication, followed by a simple statement translated into mathematical concepts. "Attention, unknown vessels. We are responding to a distress call from the ship you are currently attacking. Cease hostilities immediately and withdraw your boarding parties. You have 30 seconds to comply." On the bridge of his ship, Captain Krez stared at the communications screen in confusion. Where did these vessels come from? He snarled at his crew. "Identify them!" His tactical officer worked frantically. "Unknown configuration, Captain. They don't match any known species in our database." The officer paused, eyes widening. "Their weapon systems are powering up. Military-grade, heavy armaments," Krez hissed in frustration. The Luminari science vessel had been an easy target. These new arrivals were clearly something else entirely. "They're bluffing," he decided. "No one intervenes for Luminari. Prepare to fire on the lead ship. Show them who they're dealing with." On the Valiant, the 30-second window closed. "No. Response, Captain," reported communications. "They're charging weapons." Reyes nodded grimly. "They've made their choice. All ships execute Battle Plan Delta. Destroyers target the lead vessel. Medical frigate hold position. Minimal force. Disable. Don't destroy." The human battle group split apart with practiced precision, moving faster than the Darax ships could track. Before Krez could give the order to fire, the Valiant and the destroyer Intrepid launched a synchronized barrage that struck his ship's main weapon emplacements with surgical accuracy. The Darax vessel rocked violently. Alarms blared across its bridge. "Weapons offline," shouted Krez's tactical officer. "Shield generators damaged." "How did they target so precisely?" Before Krez could respond, more impacts shook his ship. The human vessels moved with unexpected agility, their targeting systems finding vulnerabilities the Darax had thought well protected. Inside the Stellar Harmony, the Darax boarding parties suddenly stopped their assault. Their communication devices buzzed with frantic orders from their motherships. "What's happening?" Thelian asked as the pounding and cutting on the sealed bridge door ceased. Through the viewport, they watched in amazement as the Darax boarding shuttles hastily detached from their hull and raced back toward their now damaged motherships. "Someone answered our call," Nerissa whispered, her luminescence brightening with hope. Within minutes, the 3 Darax vessels had been effectively neutralized, their weapons and propulsion systems disabled by the precise strikes from the human fleet. "Hostile ships have been neutralized, Captain," reported the Valiant's tactical officer. "They're adrift and have ceased all aggressive actions." "Any damage to our ships?" Chen asked. "Minimal, sir." The Resolute took a glancing hit to her forward. "Shields, but no significant damage." Reyes turned to communications. "Hail the distressed vessel." After a moment of static, the view screen displayed an image that made the bridge crew fall silent. The alien captain, a slender being with pale, almost translucent skin covered in glowing patterns of blue and green, looked back at them with large, almond-shaped eyes. "This is Captain Maya Reyes of the United Earth ship Valiant," Reyes said, keeping her voice steady. "We received your distress call. The hostile ships have been neutralized. Do you require medical assistance or emergency evacuation?" There was a brief pause before the response came. The alien's voice was melodic, almost musical. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Nerissa of the Luminari science ship Stellar Harmony. We..." We thank you for your assistance. Yes, we have injured crew members and significant damage to our drive core and life support systems. Reyes nodded. Understood, Captain Narissa. We're sending medical teams and engineers to assist. Please prepare for boarding. Our personnel will arrive in environmental suits to minimize any biological concerns. As the communication ended, Admiral Chen turned to Reyes. Well done, Captain. Now comes the challenging part. First contact rescue operations. Major Hassan stood in the lead shuttle, checking her team's gear one final time. Her powered combat exoskeleton hummed quietly, adding strength and protection without sacrificing mobility. Remember, she told her squad, we're here to help. The Luminari are reported to be a peaceful species. They've never seen humans before, so they might be frightened by our appearance. Keep your movements slow and non-threatening. The shuttle. Pilot's voice came over the intercom. Approaching docking bay now, Major. Scans show atmosphere is breathable for humans, but with higher nitrogen content. Multiple life signs detected, some moving, some stationary. Hassan nodded. Helmets sealed until we assess the situation. Dr. Collins, your medical team stays behind us until we secure the entry point. As the shuttle maneuvered into the damaged docking bay of the Stellar Harmony, humans and Luminari prepared for a historic moment. First contact between two species from vastly different worlds, brought together by a distress call that had found its way to the most unlikely of recipients. The human shuttle docked with a gentle thud against the Stellar Harmony's crystalline hull. Major Hassan's squad formed up at the airlock, weapons ready but pointed down. The medical team waited behind them, equipment cases in hand. Scans show multiple life signs ahead, Sergeant Diaz reported, checking his helmet display. Some of them don't match Luminari profiles from our database. Hassan nodded. Darak stragglers. They might be trapped or deliberately staying behind. She switched to the squad channel. Remember, non-lethal tactics if possible. We want prisoners who can answer questions. The airlock cycled open, revealing a corridor unlike anything the humans had seen before. The interior walls of the ship seemed to be made of the same crystalline material as the hull, but they glowed with a soft, ambient light that shifted in hue as they watched. Hassan took point, leading her team through the alien vessel. They encountered the first Daraks just 2 corridors in, 3 reptilian aliens attempting to break into what appeared to be a sealed compartment. "Freeze!" Hassan called out, her suit's external speakers translating into a basic mathematical sequence. "Drop your weapons!" The Daraks spun around, their yellow eyes widening at the sight of the armored humans. For a brief moment, they stood frozen in shock, clearly not recognizing the species confronting them. Then one raised his weapon, a fatal mistake. Before the Daraks could fire, Diaz launched a non-lethal stun projectile. It struck the alien in the chest, releasing an electrical charge that dropped him instantly. The other 2 Daraks threw down their weapons, raising their clawed hands in surrender. "Secure them," Hassan ordered. 2 Marines quickly bound the pirates with restraints, while a third checked the sealed compartment. Inside, they found 5 Luminari, huddled together, their skin patterns flickering rapidly between pale blue and yellow. Hassan removed her helmet, revealing her human face. The Luminari gasped in unison, their luminescence pulsing in what seemed to be surprise or wonder. "We're from Earth," she explained slowly. "We received your distress call. We're here to help." One Luminari stepped forward cautiously. "You're not like any species we've encountered before," Hassan smiled, trying to appear non-threatening. "I imagine not. We need to get to your bridge. Can one of you guide us?" The Luminari nodded, still staring with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Follow me. I'm Engineering Officer Soriel. Our bridge is 3 decks up, but the gravity lifts aren't functioning." "Not a problem," Hassan replied. "Lead the way." As they moved through the ship, they encountered more Daraks pirates, some surrendering immediately upon seeing the armored humans, others foolishly attempting to fight. None lasted more than seconds against the Marines' superior training and equipment. They also found more Luminari, some injured, others simply hiding. The human medical team began treating the wounded while Marines secured each section of the ship. "Your species," Soriel said as they climbed up an emergency access shaft. "You move differently than most spacefaring races, with such purpose." "How so?" Hassan asked, easily keeping pace despite her heavy armor. "Most evolved species avoid physical confrontation," Soriel explained. "It's inefficient, risky. The Daraks are unusual because they maintained aggressive traits despite developing technology." Hassan didn't mention that humans had developed technology precisely because of their aggressive traits, not in spite of them. There would be time for cultural exchange later. They reached the bridge, where Captain Narissa and her senior crew welcomed the humans with expressions of awe and gratitude. The Luminari captain approached Hassan, her luminescence now a bright, warm gold. "You saved my ship and my crew," she said simply. "We owe you a debt we cannot repay." Hassan removed her helmet again and saluted. "Major Sarah Hassan, United Earth Defense Fleet Marines. We're just doing our job, Captain. Our engineers are assessing your drive core now, and our medical teams are treating your injured." Narissa studied the human with undisguised curiosity. "Your fleet disabled 3 Darax warships in minutes. How is this possible? The Darax are known throughout this sector as dangerous predators." Hassan chose her words carefully. "Earth developed differently than most worlds. We evolved with certain advantages in combat situations." Before Narissa could ask more questions, Hassan's comm unit buzzed. "Major, we've secured all decks," reported Sergeant Diaz. 21 Darax captured, 4 injured. No fatalities. Medical teams report 16 injured Luminari, all stable. Engineering teams report the drive core can be stabilized, but it's beyond field repair." "Understood," Hassan responded. She turned back to Narissa. "Captain, your ship is secure, but it can't travel under its own power. Admiral Chen is offering to escort you to the nearest friendly port, or you can evacuate to our vessels." Captain Narissa looked around at her damaged bridge, then back to the human officer. "I don't know how to thank you. Half my crew would be captives of the Darax if you hadn't arrived." "No thanks necessary, Captain," Hassan smiled. "We were just doing our job." First Officer Thelian stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his caution. "Your job? Does your species routinely intervene in conflicts between unknown aliens?" Hassan's smile widened slightly. "When someone calls for help, we answer. It's what humans do." The Luminari exchanged glances, clearly finding this concept novel. "I have a question," Lyrian said from her damaged communication console. "Your planet, Earth. It's not in any of our star charts or Confederation records. Where exactly are you from?" Hassan hesitated, then decided simple honesty was best. "We're from what you call the restricted zone in Sector 87. The Luminari bridge crew fell silent. Narissa's luminescence paled. "But that's classified as a Deathworld zone. No advanced civilization could evolve there. The conditions are extreme, high gravity, atmospheric toxins, dangerous predators, extreme weather patterns." "Yeah, we call it home," Hassan said with a shrug. "It's not so bad once you get used to it." The Luminari stared in disbelief. Everything about their evolutionary biology had taught them that life adapted for peace and cooperation. Yet here stood representatives of a species that had not only survived, but thrived in conditions considered lethal by galactic standards. "Captain." Narissa slowly extended her slender hand in what she hoped was a gesture of friendship. "Major Hassan, it seems the galaxy has much to learn about your species." Hassan carefully took the Luminari's delicate hand in her armored gauntlet. "And we have much to learn about yours, Captain." Part 3, Galactic Implications. On the bridge of the Valiant, Admiral Chen watched as human medical and engineering teams helped evacuate critically injured Luminari to the ship's advanced medical bay. "Sir," Commander Rodriguez reported, "we've Detained the Darak's captain. He's requesting to speak with you. Chen nodded. Bring him to the conference room. 10 minutes later, the Admiral stood face to face with Captain Krez. The Darak's pirate, despite his restraints, maintained an air of defiance. You've made a serious mistake, human, Krez hissed. You don't understand the politics of this sector. The Darak's consortium has powerful allies. Chen regarded the alien calmly. Is that a threat, Captain Krez? A warning, the Darak's replied. No one interferes with our operations, especially not for worthless Luminari. Chen leaned forward, his voice low but intense. Let me offer you a warning in return. Humans have a saying, those who live by the sword die by the sword. Today, you attacked a peaceful ship that accidentally sent its distress call to us. Next time you consider preying on the defenseless, remember what happened here. Krez's scales darkened with anger. Who are you people? Where did you come from? Chen straightened. We're humans from Earth, and we just changed the rules in this sector. As the Darak's captain was led away, Chen turned back to the viewport. The damaged Luminari ship, now surrounded by human vessels, looked fragile against the backdrop of space. Orders, sir? Rodriguez asked. Prepare to take the Stellar Harmony in tow, Chen commanded. We'll escort them to the nearest Allied outpost and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've made first contact with 2 new species. And the Darak's prisoners? We'll turn them over to whatever authorities the Luminari suggest, but make sure the galaxy knows who stopped them, as humans and Luminari work together to repair what they could of the damaged science vessel. Word of the encounter was already spreading through Darak's communication channels and from there to the wider galactic community. Mysterious warriors from an unknown world had intervened against one of the most feared pirate fleets in the sector. The age of human isolation was over. The Deathworlders had arrived on the galactic stage. 3 weeks after the rescue of the Stellar Harmony, the human battle group entered orbit around Lumen Prime, the home world of the Luminari Confederation. The blue-green planet below was beautiful, covered in vast oceans and forested continents, with sprawling cities built in harmony with the natural environment. On the bridge of the Valiant, Admiral Chen straightened his dress uniform. Quite a reception committee, he remarked, looking at the dozens of Luminari vessels that had gathered to escort them into orbit. They've been broadcasting welcome messages for the past hour, Commander Rodriguez reported. News of what happened has spread quickly through their confederation. Chen nodded. First official diplomatic contact with a new species. Let's make it count. In the ship's main conference room, final preparations were underway for the reception. Captain Narissa and the senior staff of the Stellar Harmony had traveled aboard the Valiant during the journey to Lumen Prime, sharing knowledge and building the foundations of friendship between their peoples. Are you nervous? Major Hassan asked, as they stood by the viewport, watching the planet grow larger below them. The Luminari captain's skin glowed with a soft purple hue, a sign of thoughtful contemplation. A little. My people are curious by nature but cautious with new species. You humans are unlike anything in our experience. Hassan laughed. We get that a lot. Then she grew serious. The Confederation Council has been in emergency session since we sent word of your assistance. They're eager to establish formal relations with Earth. And we're just as eager, Chen assured her, joining their conversation, though I suspect some of your people might find us intimidating. Perhaps at first, Narissa admitted. But you saved my crew when you had no obligation to do so. That speaks volumes about your character as a species. The shuttle journey to the surface was filled with ceremony. An honor guard of Luminari defense ships escorted the human delegation through the atmosphere to the capital city of Lumeria. Below, crowds had gathered to witness the historic arrival. They've never seen anything like us before, Chen said quietly as their shuttle approached the massive landing platform where Luminari officials waited. Remember, slow movements, friendly expressions. The human delegation, consisting of Admiral Chen, Captain Reyes, Major Hassan, and several specialists in various fields, stepped onto Luminari soil for the first time. The gravity was noticeably lighter than Earth's, making each human feel strangely buoyant despite their efforts to move normally. A distinguished luminari in ornate robes stepped forward, his skin glowing with formal patterns of gold and purple. "Welcome to Lumen Prime. I am High Counselor Valen of the Luminari Confederation. On behalf of all our people, I extend our deepest gratitude and friendship." Admiral Chen bowed slightly. "High Counselor, I am Admiral Samuel Chen of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We are honored by your welcome and look forward to building bridges between our worlds." As the formalities continued, news of the human arrival spread through the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all species watched broadcasts of the unusual bipeds who had emerged from the so-called Deathworld zone and defeated a Darax pirate fleet with ease. In the Grand Council chamber of Lumeria, the humans sat at a circular table alongside the highest officials of the Luminari Confederation. The architecture of the chamber was breathtaking, soaring crystalline spires that caught the light of the planet's single sun, creating rainbow patterns across the polished stone floor. High Counselor Valen addressed the assembly. "For centuries, our Confederation has explored the stars in peace. We have encountered many species, formed alliances based on mutual respect and scientific exchange. But we have also faced threats, races like the Darax who see our peaceful nature as weakness." The counselor turned to the human delegation. 3 weeks ago, one of our vessels sent a distress call that, by pure chance, reached a species we had never encountered, a species from a world we had classified as too extreme for advanced civilization to develop. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the assembled officials studied the humans with undisguised curiosity. "These humans," Valen continued, "responded without hesitation. They traveled at dangerous speeds to reach our ship in time. They faced a superior Darax force without fear. And they did this not for political advantage or material gain, but because it was, in their words, the right thing to do." Admiral Chen listened calmly, aware that this moment would shape relations between their species for generations to come. "Today," Valen announced, "I propose a formal alliance between the Luminari Confederation and Earth. Not merely a treaty of friendship, but a mutual defense pact that will change the balance of power in this sector forever." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some officials expressed concern about allying with a Deathworld species whose capabilities were still largely unknown. Others pointed out the obvious advantages of having such powerful allies. Finally, an elderly counselor rose to speak. "I have studied the preliminary reports on human biology and history," he said, his voice quavering slightly. "Their world has gravity nearly twice our own. Their atmosphere contains elements we consider toxic. Their planet experiences weather phenomena that would destroy our cities." He paused, looking directly at the humans. To survive such conditions, they evolved extraordinary strength, endurance, and adaptability. But more importantly, they developed something else, a drive to protect those weaker than themselves. This is rare in the galaxy and precious beyond measure. When the vote came, it was nearly unanimous. The Luminari-Human Alliance was born. Later that evening, at a celebration in the Crystal Gardens of Lumeria, Admiral Chen and Captain Nerissa stood watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of violet and gold. "Your High Council moved quickly," Chen observed. "I didn't expect a formal alliance on the first day." Nerissa's skin glowed with warm amber tones. "The Darax have been expanding their territory for years. Smaller confederations have fallen to their raiding fleets. We've been searching for a solution." "And you think humans are that solution?" "I know what I saw on my ship," Nerissa replied. Your Marines moved through Darak's boarding parties as if they were training exercises. Your fleet disabled 3 warships without destroying them, showing both power and restraint. She turned to face him directly, her luminescence intensifying. Word is spreading, Admiral. The Daraks have already withdrawn from 2 border systems. 3 other confederations have requested information about Earth. The galaxy is changing because of what your people did for mine. Chen nodded thoughtfully. We've been isolated for most of our history, focused on our own survival. Perhaps it's time we found our place in the wider community of worlds. I think you already have, said Nerissa. News travels quickly. By now, most spacefaring races know about the Deathworlders who answered a distress call and defeated the Daraks. More calls will come. As if on cue, Captain Reyes approached with a data tablet. Sir, we're receiving transmissions from 3 different systems. All distress calls requesting assistance against raiders or pirates. Chen raised an eyebrow. It seems the word is out that Earth is open for business. Will you answer them? Nerissa asked. The Admiral looked out at the alien sunset, so different from Earth's yet beautiful in its own way. For millennia, humans had fought each other for resources, territory, and ideology. Now they had found a new purpose among the stars. That's what humans do, Captain, he said with a smile. When someone calls for help, we answer. In the days that followed, diplomatic teams from Earth arrived to establish a permanent embassy on Lumen Prime. Military advisors began working with the Luminari Defense Force, sharing tactics and technology to help the peaceful species protect themselves. Meanwhile, human scientists pored over the wealth of knowledge the Luminari shared, star charts mapping regions humans had never explored, biological data on dozens of alien species, and technological innovations developed through the Luminari's unique perspective on the universe. The alliance grew stronger as cultural exchanges flourished. Luminari artists were fascinated by human music and literature, with their themes of struggle and triumph. Human philosophers found new insights in the Luminari's harmonious worldview, shaped by their evolution on a gentle world. 3 months after the rescue of the stellar harmony, High Counselor Valen addressed a special session of the Galactic Confederation, the loose alliance of spacefaring species that maintained peaceful relations throughout the charted regions of the galaxy. Distinguished representatives, Valen began, his luminescence formal and steady. I come before you today to introduce a new species to our community. A species that, until recently, we had classified as impossible. Sentient beings from a death world. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as holographic displays showed the first official images of humans that most galactic citizens had ever seen. The humans of Earth have joined the Luminari in a mutual defense alliance, Valen continued. We invite all peaceful confederations to establish diplomatic relations with them. Their perspective is unique, their capabilities remarkable, and their willingness to help those in need is unmatched in our experience. As Valen spoke, the Valiant and its battle group were already responding to their 7th distress call since the alliance began. This time, a mining colony in the Arcturus sector had requested help against a warlord who had blockaded their system. On the bridge, Admiral Chen reviewed the tactical situation. Deploy the destroyers to the outer system. I want those blockade ships identified before we engage. Sir, Commander Rodriguez reported, the Luminari Diplomatic Corps has sent a formal protest to the warlord citing our alliance. They're attempting to resolve this peacefully. Chen nodded. Good. Let's hope they succeed. But we'll be ready if they don't. The Admiral turned to the viewport, watching as Earth's ships moved into formation around the beleaguered colony. In just 3 months, the reputation of humans had spread throughout the sector. Some feared them, the unexpected Deathworlders, with their powerful ships and armored soldiers. But many more welcomed them, the protectors who answered when called. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the United Planetary Council reviewed reports of their new place in the galaxy. Resources that had been dedicated to internal conflicts were redirected toward exploration and defense. Old rivals found common purpose in humanity's new role as galactic peacekeepers. In a quiet moment aboard the Valiant, after the Arcturus, blockade had been peacefully resolved. The warlord had quickly withdrawn upon learning humans were involved. Admiral Chen recorded a personal log. "For centuries, humanity wondered if we were alone in the universe," he dictated. "We searched the stars for signals, for some sign that we weren't isolated on our little blue world. When we finally expanded beyond our system, we found silence. Empty, worlds that became our colonies, but no other thinking beings." He paused, considering his words carefully. "Now we know the truth. We weren't alone. We were avoided. Our world, which we always considered normal, was classified as a death world by species who evolved in gentler environments. They marked our sector as restricted, too dangerous to explore." Chen smiled at the irony. But then a distress call, misdirected by chance, reached our ships. And in responding to that call, humanity found its purpose. We're the protectors now, the guardians of peaceful species who never evolved the capacity for warfare that Earth's harsh conditions forced upon us. Outside his viewport, the stars streamed past as the battle group set course for their next mission. Somewhere ahead, someone had called for help, and the humans would answer, as they always did. In the vastness of space, word continued to spread. The Deathworlders had arrived on the galactic stage, and everything had changed. Predatory species that had once raided with impunity now checked star charts carefully, avoiding regions where human ships might patrol. Peaceful worlds looked to the skies with new hope, knowing that if trouble came, they could call upon the most unlikely of guardians, a species born on a world of danger who had chosen to use their strength not for conquest, but for protection. And on a dozen worlds, the same message was prepared and sent toward Earth. "We need help. Please come." The humans would answer. It was what they did.